See if we can get everything up. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, unfortunately, everything seems to have happened in the last hour today. So, that's why we're late today. I was prepared up until about 4 o'clock, and then it seems all hell's broken loose. Of course it has. Of course it has. But we'll get to that at the end today, because there's probably going to be new updates on that before the show is over. Yeah. Huh. Well, we'll get to that at the end. We're going to have more of a fun show today, but then all this stuff happened at, whatchamacallit, 4 o'clock-ish. Basically, like, right after 4. Well, let's jump right into it. Where is... Interesting. Here we are. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2026. This is episode number 85 of Addressing the Issues. So, yesterday at the end of the show, there were reports that the U.S. and the Vatican were going to be in some sort of conflict, whether it be, I guess, a war of words is what it was promoted as. It's been claimed today that the rumors of the U.S. threatening the Vatican yesterday were allegedly fabrications that were just invented by the media. Go figure. It's been claimed today that both Cardinal Christopher Pierre, maybe Christopher, probably Christopher Pierre, and Undersecretary of War for Policy, Elbridge Colby, claimed that their conversation was substantive, respectful, and a professional meeting. The Department of War further says that recent reporting of the meeting is highly exaggerated and distorted. The meeting between Pentagon and Vatican officials was a respectful and reasonable discussion. We have nothing but the highest regard and welcome continued dialogue with the Holy See. So, well, there's the media for you. Interesting stuff there, why you would want to drive a rift between the Catholic Church and the United States of America. With what I believe is, if it's not, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the first American Pope, American-born Pope, with Pope Leo the 14th, I believe. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is the first American-born Pope, coming straight out of Chicago. Doesn't get much more American than that. But it seems that the reports allegedly were fabricated by the media, as both sides point to this claim. They say that they had a good discussion, so shout out whoever was trying to drive a rift between the two. You are an evil person. But I just wanted to clarify that. That's how we ended yesterday, with that just coming up out of nowhere. And it seems that it was sprung up out of nowhere, as it was a just invented fabrication. So Yeah, shout out the media for that. Um, there was an interesting, press conference sprung up upon us today, or not press conference, statement. This was made by the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. She was seeking to clear the air about her and President Trump's relationship. Some quotes from this statement by her to national media. Started off with, "I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump," claiming that her, Melania, met her husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. She further claims that, "I have never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to some of the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in NYC and Palm Beach, or New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice Maxwell." Well, that puts a hole in a lot of people's narratives, surely. And then she furthers her point by saying, "The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but I rather reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation." Sounds like she's looking for lawsuits, which, go ahead. Be our guest. Sue them to oblivion. But this also means, why not get all the files out, Mr. President? I mean, I'm not sure why we don't have them all now if it has nothing to do with your family. So why not just release all 6 million plus files? Why would it matter to you if it doesn't affect your family? I don't understand. The public knows that these are very bad things alleged in these files. We know of many of the other people that do bad things in these. Why don't we just go after them? Why don't we just bring them in front of the people in a court of law? I don't understand. I truly don't. I mean, I guess I've had talks in private that this is probably to ensure that these people remain quiet. They don't bring in more people to this, people of substantial companies in the U.S., people that have a lot of power in these top 100 businesses. But my argument is that we can't have these evil people running our country. We truly can't. And I hope that this statement isn't using the First Lady of the United States to deflect or downplay the severity of these files, because they are severe. This is allegations of human trafficking of children for sex acts. We shouldn't be okay with this as a population, and it's not fair to Melania now that bear the brunt of this. This should have been all released by Pam Bondi. Why it wasn't, I guess the world may never know, because now she's not even testifying in front of Congress anymore, allegedly. That still needs to happen. She needs to be forced to do so as to why this has gone the way it has, because it creates lots of distrust within the U.S. population. And you shouldn't have a president, you shouldn't have a White House that creates distrust with the U.S. population. It's not reasonable and can only lead to bad things. It can only lead to further insurrection in this country, which we need no more of. We already have seen enough of that in Minneapolis this year. We've seen enough of it in Portland. We don't need any more, truly. But this only causes people to question, is the government protecting child predators? And if the answer is no, release all of them. If the answer is yes, then I guess it's good reason that everybody's upset, isn't it? But yeah, I thought her appearance today seemed a little strange as to why she would need to make this statement, unless it is strictly for the purpose of suing them later in court, which, go ahead. I mean, please do. If somebody is defaming you, sue them in court. But if the purpose of this is to take the heat off of the Epstein files, that's a losing cause. We need to know who is running our country, and if it is people who take advantage of children. Because if it is, that's truly evil. It's not fair to anyone who pays taxes in which these people benefit from. It's not fair to us. We pay for the courts to work, and seemingly more and more every day they don't, whether it be for people of high power or people who commit heinous actions against people, against civilians in the street. There was, what was it? The guy that stabbed Irina Zarutska was allegedly going to be let without a trial, was going to seek the insanity plea until the national government had to step in and say that he will be held and he will face trial for murder. But we can't let evil people keep being freed. We pay too much in taxes for that, truly. We need to put the evil people in jail where they belong. And the U.S. would just be a better place because of it. But I don't mean to tie in those two, but there is just time and time again, that evil people walk free here, and we can't stand for that as a population. We need the evil people behind bars so the evil stops. That's truly the only answer to slowing down the evil in this country, but I don't know how committed we are to that. But we'll move on. I hope she sues everybody for defamation, but we also still need full accountability for the people who took advantage of children in this country. We can't be a country of child predators. That's beyond evil. It truly is. Like I said, we're moving on. Another story today is that the U.S. economic growth, as assessed by the GDP, was downgraded from 0.7% to just 0.5% in quarter 4 of 2025. This marks a tremendous decline from the 4.4% growth in quarter 3 of last year. It's not exactly what you would expect for GDP growth, and typically one of the most spending-heavy periods in America, containing both Black Friday and the holiday season. I know those two are intertwined, but there's a lot of spending that goes down on Black Friday, a lot of spending that goes down on Cyber Monday, yet the growth keeps becoming less and less over that same quarter. It's been claimed that the lengthy government shutdown over that time caused a large portion of this quarter 4 to drop in GDP, and said that they should be taking much of the blame. This government shutdown, whoever it was because of, the Democrats, should be taking most of the blame, with almost a full 1%, 0.96% decrease in government spending during quarter 4, meaning that this money was not being circulated through the economy. But I don't think that equates to the drop from 4.4% in quarter three to 0.5% in quarter four. That doesn't entirely make sense. It seems that people were sensing an economic downturn, and then shutting down the government on top of it just was the dagger that killed it. But this marks overall economic growth last year to just 2.1%, which is short of both 2.8% in 2024 and 2.9% in 2023, meaning a sleeping president, a sleeping executive branch somehow did better than we did in 2025, which is absolutely infuriating. In the way this year's going, it's not looking like it's going to be any better at all. It's probably going to be lower GDP than years before. And this decline will continue. I mean, like I say every day, it doesn't feel like the golden age anymore. There was like a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there, but then wasting all of our money overseas makes it feel not much like a golden age, truly. And the numbers are proving the exact same thing I'm saying. But we'll move on to one of the last topics, I guess the last major topic of the day, which is what is currently going on with this ceasefire deal. Yesterday we talked that it doesn't seem that both sides understood what they were agreeing to. Maybe there was a switch up at the last time. Maybe some side didn't read what they were agreeing to. I'm not exactly sure where the miscommunication was. But what both parties believed they agreed to is miles and miles apart. The U.S. believed that the Strait of Hormuz would be open. Iran believed that they would have full control over it, and be able to toll ships through. Iran thought that attacks on Lebanon would be completely off limits. Israel thought that this only pertained to attacks on Iran, and they would continue to attack Lebanon, which is what we're seeing today, further straining these peace negotiations. So this morning, we opened up with a large-scale missile barrage into southern Beirut, and allegedly an incursion by IDF soldiers into southern Lebanon, further destabilizing this U.S.-Iran ceasefire that is being negotiated allegedly right now, with Pakistan as the intermediary. But not only were missiles raining down above the capital of Lebanon, Hezbollah forces claim that they've had armed clashes with the IDF in southern Lebanon today, meaning Iran's idea of what this ceasefire was is completely different than what Israel's belief is. Iran thought that this was going to completely stop. Israel thought that they could keep going and furthering this war, but I guess we're understanding now why Israel would not contribute boots on the ground into Iran. They were going to be preoccupied in furthering their war with Lebanon, which started in 1948. This is the Arab-Israeli war that Lebanon and Israel have never signed a peace deal over, and it is now continuing into 2026. I guess that's why they wouldn't put boots on the ground in Iran, is because they knew they were going to do this instead. This is the second front of this war, the Israel front in the Lebanon, and then the U.S. front into Iran. More and more keep opening up. But it's now being claimed that Israel and Lebanon will be opening direct negotiations for the first time in decades after all of this, Prime Minister Netanyahu stated that in light of repeated requests from Lebanon to open direct negotiations with Israel, I instructed the cabinet yesterday to begin direct negotiations with Lebanon as soon as possible. International organizations are noticing what's going on with the World Health Organization chief, Tedros, is demanding that Israel immediately cancel its evacuation order for southern Beirut, which has been repeatedly under missile strikes for the last, I believe, 48 hours now. The World Health Organization is claiming that 2 major hospitals are unable to evacuate 450 patients, with 40 of them currently in the ICU, many of these due to previous airstrikes yesterday. The World Health Organization claims there's no other hospitals in which these patients can be taken to essentially signing the death warrant for these people if they are unable to be transported. There's nowhere else for them to go. It's either that they stay there and get hit by a missile, or they leave and possibly die on the journey, which is an absolutely evil situation to put these people through. You know, most of us thought you weren't supposed to attack hospitals in the time of war. However, some of these rules don't apply to some countries, especially if you are allegedly backed by the U.S. These rules just seemingly don't apply to you, which is utterly evil. I can't stand for that. I mean, truly, it would be different if these were, I guess different if they were military hospitals, maybe. But these are civilian hospitals. These are civilians that have already been hit once by missiles, by airstrikes. And now you're saying, you've got to just get them out. I know they're hurt, but if you don't, we're just going to strike them again. We're going to strike the hospital. How evil do you have to be? I mean, if somebody can name something more evil, be my guest. But, 40 people in the ICU, they're not going to walk away. They're not just going to, walk to the next hospital. They can't. I'd assume a majority of the 450 patients already in these 2 hospitals, they're not going to be able to walk to the next one, especially if they had a leg trapped under rubble yesterday. It's been cut off and they're recovering. They can't walk anywhere. What are they going to do? Wheelchair them across a country into a different country? Probably not. It's just evil. It's evil what's going on there. And apparently they want to start negotiations today or push for negotiations in the near future after these strikes today, after their incursion into southern Lebanon. Hezbollah was not much of a fan of this, and in the last few minutes have since attacked back into Haifa with some of their own long-range rockets, meaning that it's less and less likely every time something like this happens that this peace deal is actually going to take place, that this ceasefire will hold. It's supposed to be that there's going to be a meeting in Islamabad, Pakistan this weekend on Saturday. However, every time this happens, the likelihood of this even occurring, nevertheless being successful, the chances of it being successful decrease. They truly do. Because every side's getting angrier and angrier this entire time, this ceasefire that maybe exists, maybe doesn't. It's like Schrodinger's ceasefire. It's there, but it's not, and the conditions are there, but they're not. Nobody knows what's going on here. But at the same time as this, these strikes not at the same time as these negotiations are being proposed between Israel and Lebanon, and Hezbollah is firing rockets back at Israel, which is roughly an hour ago, Iran has allegedly launched an airstrike into Bahrain, the UAE, and Kuwait. all while the IRGC has denied any involvement with these strikes. Meaning, I'm not even sure. It could be that they have done this and they're lying. It could be that there are rogue factions that still want to further this war and further push the U.S. and Israel to fight in Iran. It could be that these are a false flag. It could be any of the three. This is the fog of war. But as these airstrikes are going on, the Supreme Leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khomeini, has made a statement. He says, "We're still waiting for an appropriate response from you, our southern neighbors, so that we may demonstrate our brotherhood and goodwill to you." What this sounds like is that while these airstrikes were going on, they're trying to pull the Arab states into Iran's sphere of influence, as opposed to against the U.S. and Israel's pull of them into our influence, which is quite alarming. We have multiple U.S. military bases in these countries, Navy fleets, Army bases, Air Force bases, and if they were to switch sides, it's over. It's over for us. We're surrounded on all sides by these countries in these bases. We have no airspace to fly from our boats, from Israel, from Jordan, into Iran. No friendly airspace. Turns it all hostile against us if they do change their orbit from the U.S. to Iran. But on the other side of this, there's a financial incentive, meaning that they could get their oil out. Their economy could come back. So it's quite alarming that this is happening, and we can't let it happen. That would officially mark the end of the petrodollar as well. They would be trading all of this fuel in Chinese yuan, and then what are we left with? We're left with thousands dead, and probably the death of our economy as well. So this is, a rapidly developing situation right now. We're supposedly supposed to have these negotiations on Saturday in Islamabad. It was rumored earlier that J.D. Vance would be sent. Now they're questioning whether J.D. Vance should be sent or not, considering the tensions of the situation, claiming that they're going to send Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner instead. Iran stated today that they did not want to do negotiations with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, probably because they've seen how sleazy they've acted in the past and would prefer to negotiate directly with J.D. Vance. I don't know the likelihood that J.D. Vance will be sent to Pakistan for these negotiations, but I do understand why you wouldn't do deals with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, because the last people to do these deals with them got killed in an airstrike while negotiating. To and from negotiations, killed in an airstrike. Now if you bring J.D. Vance over, you have leverage with the Vice President of the United States of America. Not a good kind of leverage by any stretch of the imagination, but you know where the Vice President is, so if something were to happen during negotiations, such as happened 2 prior times with negotiations with Iran, you know who to go after. And this should be alarming to every single American. But it's the people who we've chosen to make these deals. We've chosen rather sleazy individuals, rather slimy connections, and this is what we get. They're not trusted anymore. They're not trusted not only with Iran, but they're also not trusted as much with Russia as well currently. I believe there's talks of a 30-hour ceasefire in Russia right now between Russia and Ukraine for Easter. I believe Easter was this weekend, or last weekend, but maybe it's different for Russian Orthodox. I'm not sure. But That's the status of this. I mean, nobody's trusting them anymore, and the one person they do trust it's a gamble to send them there for sure. That's the best way to put it. It is a gamble to send a negotiating chip like Vice President J.D. Vance into Pakistan, given what has happened previously in negotiations. There's also reports currently alongside the ceasefire thing that the talks already are collapsing today. It is Thursday. The meeting would not be until Saturday, but these ceasefire talks are collapsing 2 days early because nobody can decide whether Lebanon was included or not. Like I said, Iran and Pakistan, Iran the belligerent, Pakistan the negotiator or mediary, both agree that Lebanon was included in the ceasefire that everybody signed. The U.S. and Israel both believe that it was not included and that war could continue in Lebanon. So there is questions as to whether this will even happen. We might be back in kinetic conflict before Saturday even rolls around. The ceasefire might be completely over by midnight tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Alongside with that, I'm gonna see if there's anything new coming out on this. But currently, Iran is taking a $1 per barrel toll on all oil through the Strait of Hormuz, allegedly to be paid in crypto. So, you imagine you have a 100,000 barrel ship. Well, you're paying Iran $100,000 every time you pass through, meaning that money goes straight to the IRGC. Not a good deal for the U.S., but, I guess this is the deal we've signed on to, where they allegedly can just toll oil through the strait. And, there's just nothing we can do about it. We said yesterday that we had free trade through the Strait of Hormuz before this. And what did we get after? Well, now Iran controls the whole thing, and is making money off of it. Have we ended in a better position than the position we came in with? And the answer is no. And apparently alongside this, coming out in a worse position than we entered, we're also winning somehow, which I'm at a loss for words as to how that is. Yesterday, I pulled into a gas station. I wanted to go inside and grab something. I was also considering topping off my gas tank. I look at the sign. $4.99, $5 a gallon for gasoline right now. And that's the cheap crap, 87. Are we winning? My wallet isn't. My bank account isn't. I don't feel like I'm winning right now. Maybe the stock market's winning. Let's see if the stock market's winning. You guys think the stock market's winning today? Oh, the stock market is winning, up 0.5%. Huge day. It's almost like a small percentage of what it's gone down since this began. You guys remember when it was over 50,000 and we didn't have to arrest anybody? I remember that too. Let's see, is there anything else going on? Apparently Iran's delegation is on the way to Islamabad. So that is good news. I guess it's not great news until the U.S. and Iran meet and we come to some sort of agreement. But that is a good news and a piece or a step in the right direction for sure. Donald Trump was just informed about that Iran was charging tolls. Hi, Unc Joe. How are you, man? Donald Trump was just informed a couple of minutes ago. He says, there are reports that Iran is charging fees to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be, and if they are, they better stop now. President Donald J. Trump. And it's like, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? If we wanted to do something about it, we would have never went there in the first place. And this never would have been a problem. It never would have been a problem. But we decided that somehow we would come out ahead at the end of this. And now we're at the find out stage of F around and find out. We have found out that they can, in fact, launch drones off their shore to cover, 5 miles wide of shipping lanes? I mean, what a revelation. What a revelation we have discovered here. Let's see. Yeah, it says that they have reportedly just landed in Islamabad. Iran has. The U.S., I guess we're still determining who we're going to send, so. Is there anything else on this? We've got one more small thing I thought was kind of funny. That we'll get into here in a second. But apparently Donald Trump just found out about this. Maybe he was watching the show again. I like to think he watches this. I know he doesn't, but he probably should. Maybe we'd be in a better position. Because he finds out that that Iran's charging $1 per barrel on the show, and he's like, no, write a Truth Social post real quick. Put a truth up. Yeah, he also made some, I'm not even going through it. It's an absolute storybook he posted today. But he attacks a whole bunch of conservative influencers because they aren't going along with this silly war that's costing everybody more money in America than anybody's comfortable with. Just, absolutely attacking people for no good reason. He made this decision, truly. You can say that Israel made the decision, but you also made the decision to be buddy-buddy with them through this time. We could just cut them off, and we'd probably have a lot less problems. Or actually, I'm sure we would have less problems, but we can't get them under control. And we never will. We truly never will. And it's partially because they fund half the media that conservatives consume. It's absolutely unreal. We cannot decouple from them. I guess because there's financial incentive that is our own money. It's we can get a 2% rebate if we just stick around with them on the money that we send them for free. It's such a bad relationship. But I think we've caught up entirely with the latest of what's going on with he's going crazy on True Social again today. I think we've caught up for the most part with what's going on with that. So I'll go on to the next story. The abbreviation of the year came out of Canada yesterday. It is, get yourselves ready, MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. Now, Anybody want to take a guess what that means? I'll give you 30 seconds to try and figure it out, because none of it makes sense. I mean, I guess you can understand the LGBTQ part, possibly. What's the rest of it mean? Make a guess. You don't have to type it out if you're driving, just make a guess in your head. And I bet you're wrong. Well, MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+ means missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual plus. That might be every group in the world but straight. There is a war on straight people coming out of Canada, I guess. I mean, I don't know how you've put all these people together. Like, some of them, yes, like the sexually deviant group, I understand. But how do missing and murdered Indigenous women come into this? Like, are we going to add like people that don't know the local language also into this one as well, because they're marginalized in some way? We're going to add like, I mean, I don't even know what else. I mean, it encompasses everybody but straight people and murdered white people, I guess. Murdered black people as well. But I mean, absolutely absurd stuff coming out of Canada. I mean, they're also like siding with the Chinese, and I guess the Chinese probably wrote this one for them. Like, must have, because absolutely absurd stuff coming out of Canada. I just figured I'd share that with you guys because I thought it was too funny not to. I mean, we're going to find that on the Times at the end of the year. Word of the year, and it's going to be MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+, word of the year. Can you use it in a sentence? No, you can't. You just can't. It's beyond a sentence in itself. The abbreviation is a run-on sentence. But yeah, that's basically all we have for today. I'm checking one last time. It doesn't seem like anything new is going to come out before we wrap up for today. So make sure you guys are taking a moment, dropping a like on the episode, whatever platform you're on, subscribing on YouTube, following on Rumble, following on Kick, sharing the episode. Kind of a slow news day until, like I said, 4 o'clock rolled around. And I was like, oh, we're going to have some fun at the end of this. And then I learned that madness is going on. But I might do that tomorrow. I was going to do like a President Simulator game after the show, but I don't think I'm going to even have time anymore before my prior commitments later this evening. So that's not going to happen, but make sure you guys are liking, following, subscribing, sharing. But most importantly, thank you all once again for sticking around to the end. Like I said, time and time again, your viewership is the most important thing in this algorithm. So I appreciate you all for stopping by and hanging out. But we're going to get to my favorite segment of the show, the good news. Okay. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We're going to get to the good news segment of the show before we wrap up for today. In the Easter spirit, we're going to talk about a story after Jesus rose from the dead, after he died on the cross, from John. So we're going to be looking at John chapter 21, starting at verse 1, going through the miraculous catch of fish. It says, after Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, it happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. I'm going out to fish. Simon Peter told them, and they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and got into the boat. But that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul in the net because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it is the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, bring some of the fish you have just caught. Simon Peter climbed aboard and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. None of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. I think the moral of this story, what I wanted to get across with it today, is trust in the Lord. He provides miracles. The Lord told the disciples, throw the net over the right side of the boat. They listened to the Lord, and they were rewarded. When God tells you to do something in your life, listen to him. Do exactly as he says, and you will be rewarded. I think that's probably one of the most important points in the whole Bible, is that when you listen to the Lord, you are rewarded. That's why this whole segment started, is I was contemplating for a long time. I was asking myself, should I share the Bible on the stream? Will it offend people? Will it drive away audiences? And then I prayed on it. I told this story once before. I was sitting out on the back porch, and I prayed, and I said, Lord, give me a sign if this is what you want me to do. And then I murmured to myself, I haven't seen a shooting star in a while. And within minutes, not 30 minutes later, one comes straight over my head towards the horizon. And that's when I decided I'd listen to him. I don't know that all this will ever work out for me, but I believe it will. And if it isn't podcasting, it'll be something else. But I at least listened, and I believe I probably will be rewarded for doing so. And the reward isn't that this podcast gets famous. It's not that I make $1 million doing this. It's that I can change one person's life. And I hope I reach somebody, just one person. It might be somebody sitting in this today, just listening along, not expecting this whatsoever. But my reward would be changing the life of one person, leading them to Christ, leading them to the one truth, which is the Holy Bible, which is Jesus. That would be my reward. So I hope if you're listening and this pertains to you, and you're that one person today, there's a number of you guys in here actually, but if you're that one person and you've been contemplating going to church, you've been contemplating surrendering your life to Jesus, just do it. Just take that leap of faith, and I promise you'll be rewarded more so than me. But that would be my reward. So I appreciate all you guys sticking around today. Listen to the Lord and you will be rewarded. It happened with the disciples and Jesus. It can happen to you. We aren't past the age of miracles. Miracles happen every single day if you just open your eyes. Truly, just open your eyes and you will see all the miracles that happen. I mean, literally on a daily basis. Even in this world full of evil, there still is holy, there still is good, there still are miracles. You just can't be blind to them. You can't say, oh, that was something else, that wasn't God. It was God. When you see these miracles, it's not like somebody hit the lottery in real life walking around. No, God intervened. God intervened and gave them that miracle. And if you aren't blind to it, you'll see it, and you'll understand that God is looking out for every single one of us, each in our own separate way, no matter what you're going through. Whether your life is hard at this point, whether you're experiencing the miracle every single day, there are still miracles, and the Lord does provide. Just listen to him. That's all you have to do. Listen to him when he speaks to you, and you'll be rewarded. But that's all we have for today. Today's show. We'll be back tomorrow. I still want to do that President Simulator thing. I don't know if I'll do that at the end of the show tomorrow, because I don't have any plans for tomorrow evening. Well, I kind of do, but I don't know. Maybe I want to do that before next week, so it'll probably be tomorrow night if I do it at all. But we'll do a presidential simulator, and we'll see if I could win the Electoral College in the U.S. I have my hunch it is a no, but I can always try. I'll try on the game. I'm not trying in real life. That sounds like an awful expenditure of time, but I'll do it on a website, and we'll see if I can become president. I think we'll do that tomorrow. At least I'll plan on it as of right now. After the show, I don't know if it'll be all one stream or it'll be two separate ones. That'll be determined at a later date, which is tomorrow. But I think it'll be something fun to do, hang out with you guys, and you'll get to know me a little bit more. So I think we're going to plan on doing that tomorrow as opposed to today, because I've got places to be in a shorter amount of time than I think I could actually get into the simulator game, whatever you want to call about it. Call about it. Craziness. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing, following. I still need that unpaid intern I spoke of earlier, so if anybody is looking for an unpaid internship, I will give you the greatest review of all time to your future employer, I promise. But beyond that, I'll be back tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern Daylight Time. Yeah. Thanks for all the new people that stopped by in Kick. Thanks for all the new people that stopped by in Rumble. YouTube was a little dead today. We got to do better about that, guys. But yeah, so that'll be all for today. To all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you finish up your workday strong and get home safe as well. Yeah, make sure you guys are following and sharing and liking. But until then, until tomorrow, I guess that's all. I'll talk to you guys soon.